Well, that was surprisingly quick this time. I thought the haters were so much hating that the translations even also would be slow, but no, turned out they were fast this one. 3 chapters to go. Fairytale chapter 543. And this was actually a very heartwarming chapter, and way better than last week. Of course, the haters do not agree, but hey, the haters can go on, well, I want to say a very dangerous word, so let's not say I won't say it, but you know what I'm trying to say. So, and what are they doing about this chapter? When all hope seems lost, Gray actually thought of a good idea. I didn't think of this. It may be because people may criticize me for not being like that, but he actually made a very good idea. If the if all the normal ships are destroyed, then they will build a ship with modeling magic, together with Leon and Juvia, while Ersa and Mira gets Acnologa's attention. The rest gather up to prepare the fairy swear. That was actually a pretty good idea, to create a ship out of modeling magic. Basically, in essence, they're saying everybody unite to defeat Acnologia in that way. So that is actually pretty good. Elsewhere, Lucy, Levi, and Frido are heading towards the harbor. As Happy and Lucy remember the first time she got to Hargion, where they met up. It was also the first time where all the fairytale haters began to hate, but uh, for me it was memories, and therefore, well, not really memories. I didn't get into fairytale until the Tenru Island arc. But this is definitely very big shipping, where Lucy is waiting to meet up with Natsu. Yeah, definitely they're gonna get married. Elsewhere, back in the place of versus Acnologia, all the Dragon Slayers seems defeated, but Natsu, being Natsu, has not yet lived on, and he finally actually laughs in the faces of Acnologia, as Acnologia finally tells us his reason for his madness. And in a way, this felt a little weak. I mean, I would have been perfectly fine if we saw no reason in Acnologia, just being a complete and utter monster with no other sense. But in the end, he had that typical excuse elsewhere. But I think we can more consider him more like a guy whose madness drove him to just say this is the undisputed law. Maybe we could even say despair and madness drove him. I know everything about that. People misunderstand just how much despair can drive a person mad. And if you don't believe me, read Kingdom, damn it. There we have an excellent example on how much despair can drive a person mad. And note, Kingdom is not a power of feelings manga. It is very much reality. The only thing that is unrealistic is that sometimes the characters can, well, pull off very astonishing feats for adrenaline, and maybe people criticize moral, but there is an excellent example that despair can really bring a person to evil. And in a way, that was exactly what happened to Acnologia, because as Acnologia proclaims that I will be the only dragon's head in the world, for I live to slay dragons, Natsu laughs at him, saying, "Aren't you a dragon yourself? Or aren't you a human? We were bested upon the power of dragons through real dragons, strong and noble and gentle one." However, what I meant to say before is that Acnologia do not believe that. He hasn't just simply hunted dragons because, well, he has been considered himself the Almighty One. No, apparently the dragons really did devour his family, and even killed a little girl. I mean, there's something about that little girl that looks familiar. There was someone, although that also was a hater, commentating that that girl looked very similar to someone from Dragon Cry, the fairytale movie I think nobody saw. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would have seen it. Unfortunately, it's not streamed available right now. But I find it a bit laughable that someone like Acnologia would actually say, "Bruh, that killed a little girl. In the end, Acnologia is Acnologia just because dragons burned down their cities, killed a little girl, and devoured his family. And so he basically has decided, if dragons are evil, then I will become evil myself. That's his whole reason. I know, that is a mixture between both good and bad, but seeing that I am a blind follower, I'll say the good. The rest despisers, even you reviewers, I'm sorry, Kryptonian Saiyan, you can all say that it's wasted. I don't give a damn. So, no offense, I'm just saying that I don't like you always. I don't like when. No, not you. I don't like when people like them and you criticize some stuff like this that is the undisputed facts. But yeah, it could have been better. But I, as a blind follower, says this works. So, uh, of course, Natsu agrees with him a little bit that the only real dragons are like that, but there are also many ways the dragons and humans are alike. There are some we kind of dislike, there's some we like, there's some strong and there's some weak kind, there's some gentle and some bad kind. Effectively, dragons and humans were exact similar, and that is just exactly the same as you all despisers. There are the good kind, there are the bad kind, there are the annoying one, there are the more understandable one, then there are the bullies one, and then there are the just not worth my time mind. And then there are people like me, and maybe some other more like you Solaris, followers and believers, while others are just droppers and bashers. I guess we could say that. Acnologia's attack seemed to incinerate Natsu, but seeing that it was made of flames, its attack did not hit him as he absorbs the flames. As the dragon slayers rose up from the second wind, they beam all their magic into him as he creates a new, more powerful attack and fuses with all the different magic to become. I mean, I actually always imagined that. No joke. I once imagined every single fairy tale member to make Natsu eat their elements so he would become the fairy tale dragon slayer. And in a way, I was right. He became it like that because he merged with other magics. Elsewhere, Grey and Leon has managed to create a ship, as both as Lucy finally prepares to cast Fairy Sphere. First, Mira tricks the body as Ersa uses every single sword she has to send Acnologia into the ground, where Juvia creates the water so that the Acnologia body lands exactly on the ship. Of course it gets crushed, but seeing that he was on a ship, he immediately gets motion sick. With the Acnologia disabled, Lucy and all the others unite their hands and cast the Fairy Sphere. And this time it's stronger than before. Connected together, reach them all. The final battle, the final clash is next chapter. That's basically this chapter. Never minding all the despisers of Nakama bullshit and stuff like that, this was a very good chapter. Way better than last chapter. Last chapter was nothing but despair. But here they made actually some sense, and I don't care what anyone else said. It was sense, and don't mind those loud noises. I'm so angry at the despisers that the loud noises in the neighbors are not helping. But what I'm trying to say is that I didn't consider the molding magic. But in basically here is a situation, every single member actually managed to give the neat beat down towards Acnologia. They teamed up. I don't see the problem with that. How the hell is that so complaining? Nakama bullshit and stuff like that. Okay, then how do a real war work, huh? Have anyone ever considered that there are sometimes moments when help another, unite and do that? Why do they complain about this? It made perfect sense! But haters will be haters. It's useless trying to change their mind. But they should, but still, I would really wish they could have just stopped commentating on all of this. So, but this is basically this chapter. 3 chapters left. Next week is only gonna be 2, and it's called "You're the King." Probably meaning that Natsu will finally slay Acnologia, and therefore will become the new Dragon King. Maybe a bit cliche, but hey, at least Acnologia will finally die. All in all, in his final moments, Acnologia finally revealed his excuse, and it's not that it's bad. I mean, it's fairly common excuse, but I still will going that you can look this in an alternate way, and that alternate way is despair. Despair really do drive a man insane. And that is real. That is not just some Nakama bullshit and stuff like that. That is actually true. If people had that in mind, they wouldn't complain about all this. But, despisers of despisers, they will never change their mind. So give me your thoughts if you have any.